Godzilla is now in New York City.
Monster 01 and 02, commence the attack.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Stomp This Way. What?
Hey.
You missed out my intro. Talking over me. It's like the most important part of the podcast.
No, it's
Oh, now I'm sad.
not. The important part of the podcast is making sure the listeners have fun.
Oh, well, that's already out the window. But anyway, Andrew, we definitely didn't have fun, but we'll talk about that as we go on. But, what movie are we gracing the listeners with today?
1 Million B.C.
That's right. But, this movie also went by the following titles. Caveman, Man and His Mate, or Tumok.
I kind of like those better.
Really?
Man and His Mate, kind of has a ring to it.
Well, it's definitely not 1 million BC.
No.
Man did not exist 1 million BC, but, I guess it's a better title than... Isn't there a movie called 10,000 BC or something?
Yeah.
But anyway, did you know anything about this movie going into it?
Didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, before I Googled it stumbled upon it on Wikipedia the other day. I did not know it existed either, but we needed to fill a couple of weeks before we got into Creature Feature Summer, so here we are.
And we'll do the sequel next week.
Yeah, well, not a sequel, it's a remake. But
the remake.
We'll get there when we get there. But anyway, you want some production trivia? Well, the producer and director eventually, Hal Roach, initially hired W.D. Griffith to direct this film. W.D. Griffith was known as a pioneering film editor and, of course, the director of Birth of a Nation, which is, kind of seen as a revolutionary film made in 1915, I believe. A little controversial, but that is what it is. But Griffith would eventually depart the project over disagreements with Roach, although Roach does claim that some of the scenes in the final film were directed by Griffith, although the cast says that they only remember doing, Griffith doing the auditions and the screen tests and all of that before he left the project. Apparently, Roach even advertised on some of the early posters that Griffith was a producer on this film, and Griffith asked him to take his name off the marketing. But anyway, do you know that this movie was nominated for 2 Academy Awards?
Wow.
For Best Musical Score and Best Special Effects. We'll get to that. But anyway, footage from this movie would be recycled for many films throughout the 40s, 50s, and 60s, including Gigantus the Fire Monster. I haven't watched that re-edit of Rage Again in a long time. I think it's the volcano sequence that they use for some runtime padding in that. But I'd have to go back to make sure. I'm pretty sure none of these dinosaurs make an appearance. But anyway. It is a controversial film now for depicting actual animals fighting and injuring each other, leading to the SPCA to ban this type of treatment of animals for the purposes of film. Not that the SPCA has any real legal authority, but that is what it is. And this was later released colorized for the modern market. So
Sadly, we did not watch that version.
sadly, I think happily. I think it was better in black and white. I've
You
watched
never know.
I've watched some movies that were black and white and then were colorized, and it usually looks awful. So
You never know. It might have been so bad it was good.
maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what, Andrew? You got any information on the box office?
Not much.
Mm-hmm.
Barely any, honestly. It was released April 5th, 1940s,
That's right.
and total gross of $462,730.
That's right. At least that's what the producer's cut of it was, and Hal Roach's
That was a very specific.
numbers they had in their books or whatever when they wrote this web article. But yeah, so I don't know how much it costs to make, if it made money or not, or what. But anyway, you want to listen to a trailer?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll listen to a trailer, then we'll come back. We'll talk about the cast and the crew, and then we'll talk about the plot summary, and we'll discuss all about 1 million BC. See you in a bit.
1 million B.C. erupts on the screen with volcanic excitement. 1 million B.C., when the earth parted and the mountains fell. Primitive man and monstrous beasts fought each other to inherit the earth. Not since time began has the primitive scene been captured for the screen with such imaginative realism. Behold man 1 million B.C. See Loana, the fair one, who deserted her tribe and risked her life to follow Tumak of the Rock People. As big and strong as the beasts he fought for survival. See the fascinating, strange, and fearful creatures who roamed and ruled the earth 1 million B.C. You will share the unending thrills and excitement of a world of primitive wonders, of primeval terror and savagery. You will indeed live in another world, in another time, as the centuries fall back to reveal the earth 1 million B.C.
All right, listeners. There it was. The 1 million BC trailer. The trailer was in color. Of course, you can't hear, can't see that for the listening audience. But no, it was one. I don't know what the process is, but I've seen them do that on some movies where, I don't know, they don't. The colors are like always constantly like wavering and stuff. They didn't really go back and color it. They just. But anyway. Cast and crew. This was directed by Hal Roach and Hal Roach Jr., a father-son duo. Written by Mikhail Novak, George Baker, Joseph Frickert. Music by Werner R. Heyman. Effects by Roy Seawright and Elmer Ragus. Starring Victor Mature, Carol Landis, and Lon Chaney Jr. And the plot, more or less, is as follows. When a group of hikers takes shelter from a rainstorm in a cave, they encounter an anthropologist who recounts a story he has deciphered from carvings on the walls. The tale follows Tumak, a young member of the brutal Rock tribe. After a fight over the meat from his first kill, Tumak is savagely beaten by the tribe's tyrannical leader, his father, Akoba, and cast over a cliff. He survives only to be swept away by a river after a mastodon attack. Unconscious, Tumak drifts into the territory of the peaceful Shell tribe, where he meets Loana. She takes him in and gradually teaches him to abandon his violent ways and to adapt to a more cooperative society. However, tensions arise when Tumac clashes with one of Loana's former suitors over a borrowed spear. After refusing to return it, Tumac is banished. Loana chooses to follow him. Back among the rock tribe, Tumac finds that Akoba has been gravely injured and deposed. Tumac defeats the new leader and claims control of the tribe. With Loana's guidance, the rock people begin to change, adopting more civilized behaviors. Their progress is disrupted when a nearby volcano erupts. During the chaos, Loana rescues a child but becomes separated from Tumac and returns to the Shell tribe. Distraught, Tumac is later summoned by his former rival to help defend the Shell tribe from a dinosaur attack. Tumac and his people succeed in driving off the creature. In the end, the Rock and Shell tribes learn to live in harmony, and Tumac and Loana are reunited, forming a family with the rescued child as the story closes. More or less?
More or less.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. The movie opens in quote unquote modern times, 1940. And yeah, like these hikers or adventurers, whatever they are taking shelter in a cave.
Yeah.
And they just stumble upon
Cave dwellings.
this anthropologist guy who is like, this cave is very spacious, by the way.
I think it's supposed to be the same cave that was, that was shown in the.
Well, yeah, it's
Yes.
where we'll see the Loana's father carving drawings into the wall.
Yeah.
A million years ago or whatever. But yeah, and this anthropologist, I don't think any of these characters are named in the movie, but this anthropologist is going to set them down and tell them to tell from these rocks.
Yeah.
But it's really weird that they decide to open the movie this way, because typically when you set up a frame for your movie like this, right, where someone is telling the story, they do this in Princess Bride, they do this in, countless other movies, whatever. Usually you set up the framing of the story like this so that it allows for some kind of narration of the story, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a narrator who's going to kind of take the viewer along and kind of narrate some of the plot details so that maybe they can fast forward some stuff. And it actually, I hate narration, and I'm actually glad that they abandoned it pretty quick in this movie. But that would actually kind of make sense for this movie because
they don't have dialogue.
They don't have dialogue. They're just speaking gibberish. The cavemen are just speaking gibberish.
They're speaking caveman.
So especially in 1940, you would think that the studio would want to have a narrator, explaining the thoughts of the characters to the audience. But what's weird is like they set up this frame story, and he narrates for like a couple sentences as they transition from modern times into the past. But then that will completely go away.
They drop that fast.
They drop that like a hot potato. We won't get any more narration, and they won't even come back to the cave to conclude the movie. Because usually you open with the narrator and you close, I go back to Princess Bride because that's just the last one I watched like this that I remember. Like you open with the grandpa reading to Fred Savage, and they actually cut back to it a couple times in that movie. And then you close with, grandpa finishing the book and little Fred and getting out of bed and wanting him to come back and read it again tomorrow or however that movie ends. But yeah, it's just funny to me. Why would you just, honestly, I think they could have just cut this opening out of the movie because
this movie just ends.
Yeah, this opening setting up this framework of him telling the story. And again, it's silly too. Like the guy was able to get like this whole story off of these cave drawings, but whatever. Although he does admit that he's filling in some gaps there at the beginning. But anyway, so getting that out of the way, the movie is about Tumac, whatever his name is. Tumac. And he is our point of view character. He is there's two tribes, right? We're told there's two tribes, the Rock tribe, they're violent Neanderthal types.
Yeah.
And then we have the Shell tribe, who are going to be the peaceful, democratic, intelligent type. And but we open with Tumac and his father, which I saw Lon Chaney Jr. in the opening credits, but it took me a long time to figure out that Lon Chaney was. In fact, I ended up Googling it in the middle of the movie to confirm. His father, Tumok's father, Akoba, is an unrecognizable Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
Of course,
they got him a lot of maked up.
well, they got him on this wig and this beard and this and this unibrow. Yeah, and
he looked like a caveman.
yeah, Lon Chaney Jr. of course is. For those of you who don't know, he is. I mean, he was in a lot of classic Universal monster movies, but most famously, he was the Wolfman in the original Wolfman movie and several of the crossover movies.
Yes.
I think he also played Dracula's son in one of them. I think he might have played Frankenstein in one of the sequels. But anyway, so he was a Universal monster guy. And of course, his father was a famous, genre movie, monster movie. Like Lon Chaney was in, I think, one of the old Phantom of the Opera movies and stuff like that. But anyway, so poor Lon Chaney Jr., though, is just absolutely misused in this movie. You can't tell it it's him.
He doesn't have very much screen time.
He doesn't have a lot of screen time. He's not, but we open the movie. Tumok, I'll save my opinions of the dinosaurs till we get to the creature section. But woo boy. But he fights a Triceratops and he kills it. And we're to conclude.
Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah. I do admire the fact, I said it's weird that they set up that frame story, but I do admire that they're going to try to tell the story with, basically no dialogue. And I think I'm never confused. I mean, they get it across. I mean, it's a pretty basic story, but they get it across, I think, without any real spoken dialogue. Although I'm pretty sure at times Lon Chaney Jr. is saying English words like, "Get in there, get down there," when he's yelling at people to get in the cave or whatever, but that's okay. Anyway, he kills this, and I think we're to infer that this is his first kill, but, they're mean and aggressive, and he's beat up by his father when he tries to take some of the meat off the animal or whatever. And I love that this is supposed to be over a fire, but everyone is just totally unfazed by the fire, but when they're reaching in for the meat and stuff. But anyway, so he's basically cast out of the group by his dad. He's thrown down a cliff or something.
Yeah.
And then he's attacked by a mastodon. And he gets up in a tree, but the mastodon uproots the tree and throws him into the river. And he loses consciousness, but he somehow stays on this tree. And then he's going to float to the Shell Tribe. And this is when we're introduced to the love interest, Lowana. And of course, these actors, Tumok is one of the guys that's being told the story, and Lowana is one of the girls being told the story in the cave. But Lowana is the daughter of the chieftain or whatever, and she's fishing, and she sees this guy and takes him in, and he wakes up, and there's going to be a whole long bit of this movie about him adjusting to a more peaceful life because, he's used to hoarding food, whereas they all share their food, and it's this whole thing. And there's a bit of a love triangle thing going on because she has this guy that's, I don't know if they're, mates or if he's just courting her or whatever, but he gets jealous of Tumok, but he's really not aggressive to Tumok. He still tries to help Tumok with making a spear and stuff, but obviously they don't get along that well. Tumok really doesn't like him.
No.
And yeah, that's going to be a large portion of the movie. There is a scene we'll get to where it's introduced earlier in the movie where I think it's supposed to be an Allosaurus strolls into their territory. But then later, the Allosaurus will come back and trap a kid in a tree. And Tumok takes the other guy's spear and kills it. And then he refuses to give the spear back. So
yeah, that's the whole part of the movie.
It leads to the chieftain banishing Tumok from the tribe.
Well, it was very drawn out.
Yeah. But and then Tumok leaves, but at first I think he kind of drags Luana along with
Yeah.
him, but then he lets go of her, but she decides to go along with him anyway. And they do this excessively long waving goodbye sequence.
Yeah.
And anyway, so she goes back to the Rock Tribe. And his father, we saw in a scene earlier, got attacked by I thought it was the mastodon, but I was reading through Wikipedia. It is not the mastodon. It's some other kind of creature that mauls him. And now he's injured and he's crippled. And these other guys have taken over as leaders of the Rock Tribe. But,
yeah.
and, you know, they kind of catcall Luana on Luana and Tumok's way back to the village and kind of take her. But then Tumok shows up and basically asserts his dominance.
Yeah.
And defeats them in battle. I think he kills one of them or two of them. And he becomes leader of the Rock Tribe. And so he takes her back and he introduces her to his mom and kind of, you know, begrudgingly introduces her to his dad. You know, she's going to teach these people the kind of the civilized ways of the Shell Tribe.
Yeah.
And kind of form, you know, a friendship with the one chick whose daughter or son or whoever she'll end up saving later.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so, you know, we see, you know, I think on their journey back, we saw a dinosaur fight. But we see some dinosaurs and stuff. But anyway, long story short, the volcano erupts because there's always a volcano in these things. And
Cavemen always, you know, camp next to volcanoes.
always. And, well, because caves typically are in volcanic areas. But anyway, the lava like catches the mom of this one child, but Luana saves the kid, but she's on the wrong side of the lava stream. So she has to go back to her tribe. And Tumok is...
Is it her tribe or is that just partially her tribe?
That's her tribe. She goes back to her tribe. Tumok is all distraught, but then the Shell Tribe is besieged by a dinosaur. And so the suitor guy that he was rivals with comes and is like, hey, come help us. Luana's over here. But he doesn't say anything because they speak gibberish.
It's kind of just like hand motions. It's like, oh.
So Tumok takes his warriors and they go and they fight off this dinosaur with their spears. And then, there's a shot of them like the Shell Tribe and the Rock Tribe all around a big campfire and they're all living in harmony. And then Tumok and the suitor guy seems to accept that Tumok is now Luana's mate.
Yeah.
And they grab the little kid by the hands that they rescued and they walk off and are silhouetted against the sunset, and the movie ends.
Happy ending.
Thank God. It's only 80 minutes, but it felt like it went on forever. It's so boring. Like, you know, like it's a little entertaining for a little bit with them, you know, speaking gibberish and having to figure out how to communicate, and all of it's kind of mildly amusing, but it gets pretty old pretty fast with him learning to be civilized with these people and then taking his mate back to his tribe and her teaching them how to be civilized. And then some poorly executed dinosaur fights and blah, 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 blah. But,
so on and so forth.
So on and so forth. But you want to go on to creature design?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So we have actually reviewed a movie that kind of did the same thing in that Lost World remake in 1960. But it really astounds me that this movie was nominated for Best Special Effects, because this movie was made 15 years after Willis O'Brien brought dinosaurs to life in The Lost World with stop motion, right?
Yeah.
And did it really well. Like, we went back and watched that movie, and like the stop motion in that movie holds up really well. And there's a lot of it. The fact that 15, and I know that again, there were movies doing this decades after this too, but the fact that we're going to give an Oscar nomination to a movie 15 years later that the best they can do is glue some fins to an alligator and call it a dinosaur.
Or an iguana.
Or an iguana. There's a salamander. I think there's a Komodo dragon or something at one point. And yeah, they're just lizards with props glued on them. and they're gonna make some of them fight. Like there's a fight between like the iguana, not the iguana, but one of the salamander or whatever, and the baby alligator or whatever it is. Like a pretty brutal fight, and I'm pretty sure the alligator kills the salamander. It's kind of hard to watch because you're like they're really fighting, and that's terrible. And there's like some real animal abuse, like the Komodo dragon or whatever the lizard was. Like I'm pretty sure like there's a scene where like the earth breaks apart.
No, all the animals fall in that.
And yeah, well, all of them fall in it eventually, but I think they actually close it back up on the Komodo's leg and trap it there as like the fake forest around it is burning, and they actually like put this fire really close up to this lizard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But and then the Allosaurus, which they try to cut around it the best they can because they know it looks bad, but it's just a guy in a really cheap suit. It reminds me, you know, those cheap blow up T-Rex outfits that people buy to do goofy mascot things. It looks like one of those.
Yeah.
And it just looks so bad. And they'll cut some close-ups, I think, of a puppet head sometimes. And, oh boy.
It looks bad.
It looks real bad.
And this was best special effects of that.
This was nominated for best special effects, yes. And effects overall, like, I will say that the sets are actually pretty impressive. I don't know if they built them all for this movie or if they're recycled from other movies. A lot of times, you know, in these olden days, these old studios would recycle sets over and over. But the sets are pretty elaborate. The cave sets, the outdoor sets, like, look pretty good. There's several of them.
The lava is not lava, though.
The lava is not lava, but I didn't mind the eruption. I thought that if the whatever mud or whatever they're using flowed pretty well, there was some real fire. I thought the actual explosion of the volcano looked pretty good. So all that didn't bother me. There's some rear projection, I think, that looks pretty good. They've got them matted onto some matte paintings of the volcano in a couple of shots, and I thought that looked pretty good. You know, they've got them superimposed on some shots with some iguanas or whatever. You know, it didn't look terrible for a 1940 movie. So all that stuff is fine. What really gets me is the dinosaurs themselves and the fact that they're just lizards that they've glued props on, and then the guy walking around in the Allosaurus suit. It's like, oh man, this looks bad. Again, and it would be one thing if this was the best they could do in 1940, but in 1925, Willis O'Brien was doing dinosaurs in stop motion and doing it really well. And then again, 7 years before this, King Kong in 33, again, you had dinosaurs and a giant ape in really well done stop animation. And we're going to give this a movie reward. We're going to reward this movie for doing gluing props on lizards,
and
like
making
it's like
them fight each other.
And making them fight each other. It's just like, it feels kind of icky.
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever, I guess. And then the score, which was also nominated, the score's fine. I mean, it's
there.
Pretty, you know, what you would, you know, kind of grand.
It's pretty generic.
Orchestral score for a movie of this time period. Nothing special, but nothing bad.
Nah.
But you want to do some final thoughts?
Sure.
Go for it.
You know, like we said, this movie not the best at all.
Yeah.
There's no dialogue except for the very beginning.
Yeah.
Where they're setting up that thing that they're never gonna go back to at all in this whole movie.
Yeah.
Not even at the end. They're just like, we did it. We did the beginning. We don't have to do it ever again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the acting in it is... They are acting. They are trying. But,
yeah,
you know,
trying.
They're moving around. That's the best they can do. But, you know, yeah, they do their best. But, you know, it's, you know, there's no dialogue. Nothing much happens. It's kind of boring for most of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, the animal fights are, you know, disturbing because they're actual, just making real animals fight each other. And, you know, you're like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And all the score is alright. It's generic for its time, you know. It's just, it's whatever. It's there, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'll give this movie, I'll give it a D plus.
All right. Yeah. Listen, I mean, it's a bad movie. It's painful to watch these actors, as you were alluding to. For me, it's painful to watch them try to convey this, and they're doing the best they can, but to try to convey the story, just grunting and saying gibberish, wearing these ridiculous outfits, trying to pretend to fight these ridiculous looking dinosaurs. Lon Chaney is so wasted in this movie. I really like Lon Chaney Jr., even in the bad Universal monster movies. I think he's a good actor. He is a genre actor, but I think he's a good actor. Yeah, but the real pain point, again, just like that Lost World remake for me, is the dinosaurs. It's like you can't take the movie seriously once you see the baby alligator with this fin glued to its back, and it's just like, oh my god. And then when that guy in the suit trots out for the Allosaurus, it's like, oh my god, this because like actually, like if you stripped the dinosaurs out of the movie, it actually has pretty good production values. Like I said, the sets are large and elaborate. The cave sets, the outdoor sets, whatever actual outdoor location filming they did.
I don't think they had money to do stop motion.
Probably not. But all that looks good. And then, I guess they ran out of money for stop motion because it would have been so much better for these creatures to be stop animated rather than this. But yeah, even take that out, the plot's pretty boring. I get really tired of the caveman politics and we're savage, but the savage is gonna learn to be civilized, and he's gonna bring civilization back to his savage tribe, and blah blah blah, and the romantic triangle and all this, and it's just like, reconciling with his dad, but it's just like, oh my god, is this movie ever going to be over? This is the longest 80 minutes of my life. Yeah. But just like last week, for me, it's going to barely avoid an F because, like I said, I do like the sets. And I think, again, if you strip the dinosaurs out, the production values look pretty good. But it is a D-. And it's a pretty weak D-. It's a weird movie in the way that they start with that framework of a story that they totally drop. And then it, just the whole gibberish speaking and all the stupid grunts and motions and hand motions and all that. And then the dinosaurs being what they are. It's a weak D-, but it is a D- and not an F. So no Minya sound effect again this week, although I did think about it. But beyond that, Andrew, what do we got? What do we got coming up?
Well, I think, some more B movies.
Some more B movies?
We got the sequel of this.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is next week, we're going to do 1 Million Years B.C., the 1966 remake. And then to finish out April, we'll be doing Grizzly. And then we'll be doing the recap of Monarch, which, oh boy, do I have some thoughts on Monarch Season 2, but we'll save those. I skipped over this. I did want to talk about a little bit of news. Rumor has it that there will be a Godzilla Lego set released Black Friday this year. I think part of their, that Lego Ideas series they do, where people submit ideas for Lego sets and they make them into mass market sets or whatever. But be on the lookout for that. And then one of the Toho execs has come out and said that they plan to release all future Godzilla projects basically simultaneously, domestically and internationally. So it sounds like they got more projects in the works. So look out for that. I think the panel where they're going to reveal the footage at CinemaCon of Godzilla Minus Zero is on April 14th, if I'm not mistaken. So they're going to start marketing that pretty soon. So look forward to that. But anyway, we got anything else, Andrew?
I think that's about it for this week.
All right. Well, don't forget that we have another podcast going. It's called Pulse Check, where we talk about horror movies. This month, we're doing a special on zombie movies and more like the rage zombies that you kind of see in 28 Days Later. We've got 4 films this month that are going to be related to that subject. So check us out over there. But other than that, of course, you can always contact us at stompthisway1954@gmail.com.
And you can find our website at www.stompthisway.wordpress.com.
That's right. And we are on X, Facebook and Instagram, all at Stomp This Way. And of course, you can find all this information in the show notes below. And again, next week will be the remake, live and in color. Not live, but you get what I'm saying. And from 1966, it is 1 million years B.C. Added in the years so you wouldn't be confused. But as always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Andrew.
And we will see you next time.